The cold streets the night was cold, and the streets were empty. The wind moved through the broken alleys. Carrying bits of paper and dust, most people had gone home to warm houses. But one boy had no home to go to. His name was Aaron. A thin boy with torn shoes and an old jacket. He lived under a broken bridge, using old newspapers and a torn blanket to fight the cold. Aaron had learned to survive by collecting bottles, scraps of food, and sometimes the kindness of strangers. But kindness was rare, and the world was often cruel. Every night he looked at the stars and wondered if life would ever change for him. He felt invisible, like no one cared if he lived or died. That night, the cold was sharper than usual. Aaron wrapped himself tightly in his only blanket. Shivering as the air bit his skin, his stomach growled with hunger. But he closed his eyes and tried to sleep, just as he was about to drift into a restless dream. He heard a strange sound. It was not the sound of a car, or a dog, or the hum of the city. It was like a soft hum mixed with a sharp crackle. As if the air itself was breaking, Aaron sat up quickly, his eyes searching the shadows. At first, he thought it might be someone coming to harm him. But then he saw a faint blue light flickering near the alley. His heart pounded, fear mixing with curiosity. Slowly, he stood and walked toward the glow. His bare feet cold on the concrete. As he turned the corner, he gasped. On the ground lay a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. It was tall, with pale skin that seemed to glow faintly under the moonlight. Its body was covered in strange marks. Glowing softly, its chest rose and fell weakly, each breath sounding heavy and broken. Aaron's eyes widened and his body trembled. He realized he was looking at something not human. An alien hurt and dying in the cold streets of Earth. For a moment, fear froze him in place. Should he run? Should he hide? But as he stared, the alien opened its eyes bright silver, shining even in the dark. Those eyes were filled not with anger, but with pain and helplessness. Aaron felt his chest tighten. Because he recognized that look, it was the same look he saw in his own reflection. The look of someone forgotten, someone left behind. The alien tried to speak, its lips moving slowly. A sound came out, soft and broken. A word in a language Aaron did not understand. Then the creature coughed, its body shaking. Without thinking, Aaron knelt down. He touched the alien's skin. It was cold, far colder than his own. The boy looked at his blanket, then at the dying creature. It was the only thing keeping him alive in the freezing night. But in that moment, something deep inside told him what he must do. Aaron carefully placed the blanket over the alien. Covering its body, the alien's glowing eyes looked at him. Wide with surprise, it whispered again, this time the words sounding softer, almost like gratitude. Aaron had no idea what the word meant, but he felt it sink into his heart. The creature's breathing steadied a little. Though it was still weak, Aaron sat beside it, shivering without his blanket, but refusing to leave. Hours passed, and the night grew colder. Aaron hugged his knees, his body trembling. But his eyes never left the alien. The city around them stayed silent, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Finally, just before dawn, the alien's eyes closed, and its glowing body shimmered. Aaron reached out in fear, thinking it had died. But when his hand touched the ground, the creature was gone. All that remained were faint, glowing marks. Symbols burned into the concrete. Aaron's heart raced, confusion and fear twisting inside him. He stumbled back, breathing hard. Had he imagined it? No, he could still feel the warmth of the alien's skin on his hand. He could still hear that strange word echoing in his mind. Something had happened, something he could not explain. Aaron looked at the empty street, the broken bridge, and then the sky. For the first time, he felt that the stars were looking back at him. He did not know that this one act of kindness would change everything. He did not know that soon the world would never see him as invisible again, for while he shivered in the cold streets, far above the clouds, an army was already moving, and they were coming for him. The alien's secret morning came slowly, the sun rising above the city buildings, spreading a weak light over the cold streets. Aaron sat under the broken bridge, his arms wrapped around himself, still shivering from the night without his blanket. His eyes were wide, still haunted by what he had seen. The alien, the glowing marks, the strange word that echoed in his mind, none of it felt real. Yet his heart told him it was when he looked at the spot where the alien had been. The faint glowing marks were still there, carved into the concrete like fire that had burned into stone. They shimmered softly, pulsing as if alive. Aaron reached out and touched them, and a sudden warmth spread through his fingers. He gasped and pulled back, his chest racing. The symbols looked strange, but part of him felt like they were calling to him, whispering secrets only he could hear. As he tried to understand what had happened, footsteps echoed through the alley. Aaron froze and hid behind a pile of broken wood. Peeking out carefully, two tall men in long black coats appeared. Their eyes sharp, their movements quick. They spoke in low voices, scanning the ground as if searching for something important. One of them crouched down and placed a small device over the glowing marks. And the device blinked with red light. The man muttered, "It was here. The contact was here." The other man looked around and said, "Then it's close." "Keep looking." Aaron's heart thumped louder and louder. He bit his lip, afraid they would find him. Afraid they somehow knew about the alien, the men in black examined the street carefully, then spoke into strange radios on their collars. Their words were quick, serious, and filled with urgency. Finally, they moved further down the alley. Searching deeper into the city, Aaron let out a shaky breath, relief mixing with new fear. Who were they? Were they hunting the alien? That day, Aaron wandered the city streets, his mind heavy with questions. He tried to collect bottles to earn a little food, but he kept glancing at the sky, half expecting something strange to appear every time he closed his eyes. He saw the silver eyes of the alien and heard that soft whisper. The word repeated in his head again and again, though he had no idea what it meant. It made him feel connected to something larger, something beyond the life he had always known. When night came, Aaron returned to the bridge. The glowing marks were still there, shining faintly like stars trapped on the ground. He sat near them, hugging himself, whispering softly, "Who are you? Why did you come here?" The cold air wrapped around him, but inside he felt a strange warmth. It was as if the alien had left a part of itself with him. That night, Aaron dreamed he saw a vast sky filled with ships, enormous and shining like blades of light. He saw tall figures in armor, their eyes glowing silver, marching together in endless rows, and at the center, he saw the alien he had covered with his blanket. But this time, the alien was standing tall, wearing a crown of light, his silver eyes powerful and full of command. The alien raised his hand and spoke the same strange word. Suddenly, the army of glowing warriors all turned toward Aaron and knelt, their weapons lowered in respect. Aaron woke up sweating, his chest pounding, his breath fast. It had only been a dream. Or was it a vision? The following morning, the city was filled with rumors. People spoke about strange lights in the sky, animals going missing, and machines malfunctioning without reason. Some laughed it off, saying it was nonsense. But others whispered with fear, pointing toward the stars. Aaron listened quietly, but deep inside, he felt the whispers were connected to the alien he had helped. By evening, he noticed something stranger. Wherever he walked, he could sometimes hear the soft hum of energy in his ears. When he touched metal objects, they sparked faintly, once. When he reached out to a street lamp, it flickered for a moment as if answering him. Aaron stared at his hand, trembling. "Did that thing do something to me?" he whispered. As night fell again, the air grew heavy, and the glowing marks on the ground shone brighter than before. Aaron sat near them, and once again, he heard the alien's word inside his mind. This time, he felt he almost understood. It was like a name, a call, a promise. He closed his eyes, whispering the sound slowly, and the ground trembled softly beneath him. Aaron opened his eyes in shock, his heart racing. Something deep inside told him the alien had not left him alone. It had left him with a secret, something powerful, something the men in black were desperate to find. Aaron hugged his knees, shivering again, but this time it wasn't only from the cold. He whispered to himself, "What did I get myself into?" Above him, the stars shimmered, and far beyond them, something was moving closer. Aaron had no way of knowing that the secret he now carried would bring an army to Earth, and they were already on their way. A city on edge. The city was restless, and something strange was spreading in the air. People whispered about lights in the sky, about shadows that moved on rooftops, about animals vanishing without a sound. Some said it was only rumors, children making up stories, or crazy talk from street wanderers. But deep inside, everyone felt a quiet fear, like a storm was waiting just beyond the horizon. Aaron walked among the busy streets, his thin body blending into the crowd. He listened to people talking in small groups, their words sharp with worry. One man said he saw a ball of light flying over the river at midnight. A woman swore she found her car burned with strange marks carved on the ground. Another man laughed at them all, saying it was nonsense, but when he walked away, even he kept looking nervously at the sky. Aaron knew the truth, though even he struggled to believe it. The alien he helped, the glowing marks. The word in his head was all connected, and now? The city itself seemed to breathe with unease. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow looked darker. Every light in the sky seemed suspicious. That night, as Aaron tried to rest under the bridge, the strange dream returned. He saw the alien again. Standing tall with eyes like silver fire, behind him stretched an endless army. Armored warriors glowing with power, they all stared at Aaron. Kneeling as if he were someone important, the alien whispered the same word. Soft yet powerful, and Aaron woke with a jolt. His chest thumped hard, his body covered in sweat. He looked around the empty streets, whispering to himself, "Why me?" The next day, the streets grew even more tense. Black vans rolled quietly through the alleys. The same men in long coats stepping out and scanning with strange devices. They spoke to shopkeepers, asking questions. But their eyes were sharp and cold. Children ran when they saw them, and even adults lowered their voices. Aaron stayed hidden, watching from the shadows. He knew they were looking for the alien, or maybe even for him. Fear sat heavy in his stomach. But curiosity burned stronger as the sun set. He wandered toward the old railway yard. There, he saw something that made him freeze. A dog was barking at a glowing figure near the tracks. But when Aaron stepped closer, the figure disappeared like smoke in the wind. Only the glowing symbols remained on the ground. Shining the same way as the ones under his bridge, Aaron bent down and touched them. And once again, the strange warmth filled his hand. This time, a soft hum filled his ears, and for a moment, he thought he heard voices speaking in the distance. "Who are you?" he whispered. The air around him shivered, and a faint silver light passed across the sky before vanishing. Aaron's heart raced because he knew something was watching him. Not from the streets, not from the ground, but from above. The stars seemed brighter, closer, as if eyes were staring down at him. Back in the city center, the rumors grew wild. People said entire flocks of birds disappeared in seconds. Others claimed to hear deep, thunder-like footsteps at night when the streets were empty. No one could explain it, and no one wanted to. Fear spread quietly, the kind that made people lock their doors earlier and whisper when they spoke. Aaron, however, could not stay away. He kept returning to the glowing marks, to the places where the alien's presence lingered. Each time he went, he felt stronger, as if some hidden energy was slowly waking inside him. Street lamps flickered when he passed, radios crackled with static, and once a vending machine spilled coins when he touched it. Aaron didn't know if this was a gift or a curse, but he knew the alien had done something to him, left something inside him that night. He sat under the bridge again, watching the stars. The word whispered in his mind once more. Clearer than ever before, it was no longer just a sound. It felt like a name, a call, a connection. He whispered it back softly, and the glowing marks near him pulsed with light. Aaron's breath caught in his throat, his whole body shaking. The ground beneath him trembled slightly. Like a warning, like a promise, he looked around at the silent streets, his chest rising and falling quickly. The city might still be blind to what was coming. But Aaron felt it in his bones. Something was moving closer, something powerful, and soon. The whole world would see it above him. Far in the endless night sky, the first shadow of a ship crossed the stars. But no one except Aaron noticed the city was on edge, and the storm was almost here. The arrival of the night sky over the city looked strange. Stars flickered brighter than usual, and the air itself felt heavy. Aaron sat under the bridge with his knees pulled close, shivering not just from the cold, but from something deeper. He felt a pressure in his chest, as if the world was holding its breath. The glowing marks near him pulsed again, brighter than ever, and each pulse sent a vibration into the ground. Aaron lifted his eyes to the sky, and that was when he saw it. A line of silver lights appeared far above, moving in perfect formation. At first, they looked like stars. But then they grew larger, brighter, burning through the clouds. The sound came next a low hum that grew into a roar, making the buildings shake and windows tremble. People came out of their homes, looking up in shock, pointing, gasping, shouting. Cars stopped in the middle of the road, horns silent, drivers staring with wide eyes. The lights broke apart, revealing massive ships, their dark metal shining like blades under the moon. One ship after another filled the sky, until it seemed the heavens were covered. Aaron's heart pounded. Fear and wonder mixing together, he whispered to himself. They've come. The ships moved silently above the city, their shadows spreading across rooftops and streets. Then, without warning, beams of light shot down, cutting through the darkness. From those beams, figures began to appear. Tall, armored warriors, their bodies glowing faintly, their eyes silver like the alien Aaron had helped. One after another, they landed on the empty streets, their feet striking the ground like thunder. Soon there were hundreds of them, marching in perfect formation. Their armor reflected the city lights, and their weapons hummed with strange energy. The air grew thick with tension, people hiding behind windows and doors, afraid to breathe. But the warriors did not attack. They did not destroy. Instead, they walked with purpose, their steps heavy, their heads turning as if searching for something. Aaron felt his body move on its own, his feet carrying him closer. The glowing marks on the ground near the bridge lit up brighter as the warriors approached. And then, something impossible happened. The entire army stopped, every warrior freezing in place. Their glowing eyes fixed on one direction on him. Aaron gasped, stepping back, his chest pounding so loud it drowned out the silence. The leader stepped forward, taller than the rest, his armor black with silver edges, his helmet shaped like the crown of a hawk. He raised his weapon, not in threat, but like a symbol of respect. Then, in a deep voice that echoed like thunder, he spoke words Aaron did not understand. But in his mind, he heard the translation, as if the voice was speaking directly to his soul. "You are the one who gave the blanket." Aaron's mouth went dry, his mind spinning. The warriors behind the leader all lowered their weapons and knelt, their heads bowing toward him. The sound of their armor clashing together shook the street. From windows and rooftops, humans stared in disbelief. A homeless boy, dirty and thin, standing before 200 alien warriors who knelt as if he were their king. The leader removed his helmet, revealing silver eyes, sharp and burning with power. He looked at Aaron with deep respect and said, "You saved the life of our prince." Aaron's heart raced, the memory of the weak alien under his blanket flashing before his eyes. The alien he thought was dying was not just any travelet, was royalty. And now an entire army had come to honor that act. But the ground trembled again, this time not from the aliens. Black vans rolled into the streets, engines growling. Men in black coats stepped out with heavy weapons, pointing them at the warriors. Shouts echoed through radios, orders barked in panic. The humans wanted control, they wanted answers, and they were ready to fight. The leader of the warriors turned his silver eyes toward the soldiers. His face calm but unyielding, the alien army raised their weapons. Their armor glowing with energy, Aaron stood in the middle, frozen. Torn between two worlds, his chest tightened. Because he realized something, this was not just about one act of kindness anymore. It was about to become a battle, a choice, a turning point for Earth. As the cold wind blew through the streets, silence filled the air. Hundreds of glowing warriors and dozens of armed humans faced each other. At the center stood Aaron, the boy who once felt invisible, now standing at the edge of a storm that would change the future. The first spark of war was about to ignite. The boy chosen the air was heavy with silence. 200 alien warriors knelt in the streets, their silver eyes glowing under the pale moon. Across from them, human soldiers stood tense, their weapons raised, fingers ready to pull triggers. At the center of it all stood Aaron, a thin, homeless boy who had never been noticed before. Now every eye, human and alien, was fixed on him. The leader of the warriors stepped closer, his black and silver armor shining. He carried no weapon in his hand, only respect in his gaze. His voice echoed like thunder, calm but powerful. "You gave warmth to our prince when the cold tried to take his life. You gave what little you had, and in doing so, you gave him hope." Aaron swallowed hard, his heart racing, his mind struggling to understand. The humans shouted orders, their weapons clinking as they took positions. "Stay where you are." One soldier barked, another aimed directly at Aaron, mistaking him as part of the aliens. But before they could act, the alien warriors slammed their weapons into the ground in unison. A wave of glowing energy rippled outward, shaking the streets and forcing the humans back, not an attack only, a warning. The leader raised his hand, stopping both sides. Then he looked at Aaron again, kneeling before him. The army behind him mirrored the gesture, lowering their heads as if Aaron were their chosen one. The boy gasped, stepping back, his hands trembling. "Why? Why me?" he whispered, his voice almost breaking. The leader spoke softly now, words only Aaron could hear in his mind. "Because you showed what no one else did, mercy. Even without food, without shelter, you gave. And that act binds us to you." Aaron felt his chest tighten, tears burning in his eyes. All his life, he had been invisible, ignored by the world, pushed aside as worthless. But now an alien army bowed to him. Calling him worthy, the humans watched in disbelief. Unable to understand, "Stand down, boy." A soldier shouted, "Come with us. We'll keep you safe." But Aaron did not move. He remembered the dying alien under his blanket, the silver eyes filled with pain. He remembered the strange word whispered into his mind. And now he finally understood was not just a word. It was a promise. The leader extended his armored hand. Palm open. "Come with us, Aaron. You are not forgotten. You are chosen." Aaron's legs felt weak. His heart heavy with fear and awe. He looked back at the humans, their faces cold, filled with suspicion. Then he looked at the aliens, their silver eyes glowing with loyalty. For the first time, he realized he had a choice: stay in the world that had abandoned him, or walk into a new one where he mattered. Slowly, Aaron stepped forward. His bare feet scraping the broken street, gasps echoed from the crowd, both human and alien. He placed his small, shaking hand into the alien leaders. A burst of silver light spread across the army, their weapons glowing brighter, their armor shining like stars. The warriors pounded their chests in unison, a sound that shook the city. To them, Aaron was no longer just a boy. He was their brother, their symbol, their guardian. But danger had not ended. The humans shouted louder, radios crackling with urgent commands. One soldier fired his weapon into the air, and chaos erupted. The alien army instantly formed a protective circle around Aaron, their shields glowing, their weapons humming with energy. The humans prepared to fight, but their fear was clear. They were not facing ordinary beings. They were facing an unstoppable force. Aaron stood in the center of the glowing shields. His heart pounding, he could feel something inside him awakening. The same warmth he felt when he touched the glowing marks. His skin tingled, his body trembling as if power was flowing through him. The alien leader looked at him with steady eyes. "You are linked to us now, Aaron. The prince gave you part of his essence when you gave him your blanket. That bond cannot be broken." Aaron's breath caught. His eyes wide, he understood he was no longer just human. He was something more. The city around them trembled with fear. People hid in their homes, whispering about the boy who commanded an alien army. The soldiers held their ground, but doubt spread across their faces, and, in the shadows, the men in black coats watched silently, their eyes cold and calculating. They did not attack, not yet. But Aaron could feel their hunger, their desire to control him and the aliens. The night stretched long, the air heavy with tension. But one thing was clear: Rand's life would never return to the way it was. He was no longer invisible, no longer forgotten. He was chosen. And the future of both humans and aliens would depend on the choices he made. As the alien warriors stood guard and the humans prepared for battle, Aaron whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning." The hidden threat the city had never been so silent. 200 alien warriors stood like statues around Aaron, their glowing armor reflecting the pale moon. The humans kept their weapons ready, their faces tight with fear and anger, but no one dared to move, because the smallest mistake could set fire to the night. Aaron stood in the middle, his heart beating like a drum. The alien leader's words still echoed in his head: "You are chosen." For the first time in his life, people saw him, really saw him. But that new light came with a heavy shadow. The boy who had been invisible was now the center of a storm. Far away, in the darkness beyond the street lamps, black vans waited. From them stepped the men in long coats, the same men Aaron had seen before. Their eyes were cold, sharp, and full of secrets. They did not panic like the soldiers. They did not fear the glowing warriors. Instead, they watched with calm hunger, as if they had been waiting for this moment. One of them raised a small device, and it pulsed with red light. The alien leader's eyes narrowed, his shoulders shifting uneasily. Aaron felt a sharp pain in his chest, as if something inside him was being pulled. The device buzzed louder, and Aaron stumbled to his knees. Clutching his ribs, the men in coats smiled. Their plan working, the alien leader growled in his own language. His voice heavy with anger. Two warriors rushed to Aaron's side. Lifting him gently, the boy gasped for air. His body trembling, he realized what was happening. The device was pulling at the bond the alien prince had left inside him. It was not just hunting the aliens, it was hunting him too. The soldiers shouted in confusion, aiming their weapons at both the aliens and the men in coats. "Who are you people?" one soldier demanded, but the men in coats did not answer. They only kept their eyes fixed on Aaron. The red glow of the device spread wider, making the ground crack and the glowing marks flicker. Aaron screamed as visions filled his mind. He saw ships burning in space, warriors falling. A crown of silver shattered into dust. And then he saw the alien prince lying weak, whispering the same word again, a warning, a plea, a promise. The alien leader roared, raising his weapon. A burst of silver energy shot from his blade, striking the ground near the men in coats. But they only laughed, stepping back into the shadows. "You cannot protect him forever," one of them said, his voice calm and sharp. "The boy belongs to us now." Then, just as quickly as they appeared, the men vanished into the dark. Their vans gone, as if swallowed by the night. The device's glow faded, and the pain in Aaron's chest eased. But the boy's body still shook, sweat dripping down his face. The alien warriors stood close, protective, their eyes scanning the shadows. The leader placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder, his voice softer. "They know what you carry. They will not stop." Aaron looked at him, his lips trembling. "What do I carry? What did your prince leave inside me?" The leader's silver eyes shone, but his voice was heavy. "He gave you a piece of his life, a bond that ties you to our people. It is why you feel what he feels, why you saw what you saw. You are connected to him now, until his fate is decided." Aaron's chest grew tight, the weight of those words sinking deep. He had saved a dying alien without knowing who he was. Now, that single act tied him to a prince, to an army, and to a war he did not understand. The humans still watched from behind their weapons, unsure of what to do. But Aaron could see it in their eyes. They were afraid of him now. Not just the aliens. The leader turned to his warriors and spoke in their language. They tightened their formation, their glowing shields forming a wall around Aaron. The message was clear. Anyone who tried to harm him would face them all. The humans lowered their weapons slightly, realizing they were outmatched. The soldiers muttered into their radios, calling for higher orders. But no order could change the truth. The boy had become the center of two worlds. Aaron looked at the dark streets, his heart heavy. He knew the men in coats would come again. Stronger, smarter, hungrier. And when they did, the city would burn. He whispered to himself. I never asked for this, but deep inside, he also knew he could not run. The bond was inside him, alive and powerful. And whether he liked it or not, he had to protect it. The night dragged on, heavy and tense. The aliens stood guard, the soldiers waited, and the city held its breath. But Aaron could not shake the feeling that the true danger had only just begun. Because the hidden threat was not just the humans, not just the men in coats, it was something larger, something waiting in the shadows beyond the stars, and it was coming for him. The legacy of the night was fading, and the first light of dawn touched the city skyline. The streets looked broken, with scorch marks on the ground where alien energy had burned. The soldiers still stood back with their weapons lowered, their eyes full of fear and confusion. The alien warriors surrounded Aaron in a protective circle, their silver eyes glowing like stars that refused to fade. And in the middle stood the boy who had once been invisible. Now tied to the fate of two worlds, Aaron's body was weak, his chest heavy from the pain of the device used by the men in coats, but his eyes were stronger, brighter. Filled with a fire he had never felt before, he looked at the alien leader, who watched him with steady calm. "Why me?" Aaron asked again, his voice breaking softly. The leader's reply was simple, yet carried the weight of the universe. "Because you showed kindness when no one else did. Because you gave hope when even hope was gone." The words struck Aaron deep, reminding him of the cold night under the bridge. He had given away his only blanket, a small act that felt meaningless at the time. Yet that single act had changed everything. It had saved a life, awakened an army, and now bound him to an alien prince whose destiny stretched across the stars. The city began to stir as morning grew stronger. Windows opened, doors cracked, and people peered out with wide eyes. They saw the boy they had ignored for years, now standing tall among warriors. They whispered his name, some in awe, some in fear. The homeless boy they once passed by without a second glance was no longer invisible. He was a symbol, a legend in the making. The alien leader turned to his warriors and raised his hand. They struck their weapons to the ground in unison, the sound echoing like thunder. Then he spoke to Aaron, his voice soft but firm. "You are our Earth Guardian now. Our prince lives because of you. Our army follows you, and soon, our enemies will hunt you." Aaron's breath caught, his heart pounding. "Guardian," he whispered. The leader nodded, his silver eyes burning with pride. "Guardian of the bond, guardian of the choice. You will decide the path between our people and yours." The words terrified Aaron. Yet at the same time, they lit a fire inside him. He was just a boy, hungry and cold, yet now the future rested in his hands. The men in coats had said he belonged to them. The soldiers looked at him as a threat. But the aliens called him brother, protector, chosen. And for the first time in his life, he did not feel alone. The humans shouted again, demanding answers. But Aaron stepped forward, raising his voice. "You see me now, but I have always been here. I was nothing to you, invisible, forgotten. But one act of kindness has brought me here." His voice shook, but his eyes were steady. "You fear me, but I am still human. I am one of you. And I will not let fear decide the future." The soldiers hesitated. Their weapons lowering further, the city listened in silence. The boy they had ignored spoke with more courage than any of them expected. The alien leader bowed his head slightly. Acknowledging the boy's strength, the warriors followed, lowering themselves in respect once more. It was a sight the humans would never forget. Army of 200 warriors kneeling to a boy who once slept under bridges. But Aaron knew it was not over. The men in coats would return, stronger and more dangerous. The visions he saw in the device showed fire, destruction, and enemies hidden beyond the stars. This was only the beginning, a spark that would lead to battles far greater than the city could imagine. Still, as the morning sun painted the sky gold, Aaron felt a strange peace. His life had changed, and with it came a responsibility heavier than the world itself. But he was not alone anymore. The prince lived. The army stood beside him. And for the first time, humans were forced to see him, not as a shadow in the streets, but as someone who mattered. Aaron looked up at the brightening sky, his voice soft but steady. "I will not run. I will not hide. If I was chosen, then I will protect what I was given." The alien leader placed a hand on his shoulder, his silver eyes glowing. "Then you are ready." And as the city watched in silence, Aaron, the boy who once had nothing, became something more. He became a guardian, a bridge between two worlds, a legacy born not from power, not from wealth, but from kindness, the kind of kindness that could change the universe. The people would tell the story again and again, how a homeless boy gave his only blanket to a dying alien, and how the next day 200 alien warriors appeared, not to destroy, not to conquer, but to kneel before him, and to declare that even the smallest act of mercy could echo across the stars.